Prior to your session, the classroom computer will be sitting in a virtual queue, waiting for you to connect. When your call is answered and you indicate that your student is available, your computer connects with the classroom computer in the virtual queue. Unlike screen sharing, your computer and the classroom computer are independent even though they display the same material. As the tutor, you control the session and decide what activities to show to your student. When working with your student, there may be times when it is unclear if they're viewing the same material as you. To view a representation of the child's screen, click on the icon at the top of the screen and a window will appear which shows you what a child ought to see on their screen. This will help you to direct them if they're unsure of what to do or if it's unclear they're viewing what you sent. This feature is a guide only and should not replace reaching out to chat support for assistance. If the child reports that they're unable to see anything at their end, or is seeing something different to what the window displays to you, it may be necessary for chat support to remote into the pupil's computer to troubleshoot a technical problem. The first step to getting started with the activities will be to select your student's reading level. This is done for both flashcards and stories. Reading levels are set by the teacher and will be listed above the reading level buttons. Now let's turn to a demonstration of the tutoring activities and guidance on how to structure your tutoring sessions. In addition to providing stories for practicing reading and fluency skills, we also provide students with word games designed to build their knowledge of words and word parts. You can fit these in between stories to break up reading or offer children a chance to do them before you say goodbye for the week. While we have suggestions about the time you could spend on each activity, do remember that this is not set in stone. Feel free to experiment with what works best for you and the child you're supporting. The first activity in the sequence is flashcards. We recommend you spend 5 minutes at the beginning of your session on flashcards. Flashcards has two functions. It gives children an opportunity to practice sight words and it tests their knowledge of words that follow similar patterns. Both are learned skills that will help increase reading proficiency. Select the colour level indicated when you launch flashcards. If your pupil masters flashcards at that level, feel free to move them to the next colour level. Keep in mind that your pupil's flashcard level may be more advanced than their reading level. Our platform only contains a limited set of sight words as flashcards. Your pupil may master these quickly, so once your student is reading at level orange, you can skip the flashcard activity entirely and focus more time on reading. When you click on a word, your student will see the same word on their screen. Each time your pupil gets a word correct, mark the word green by clicking on the green button. If your student struggles with a word or gives an incorrect response, mark the card red by clicking on the red button. Your student will only see the words you show them and will not see the words you have colour-coded in green or red. To confirm your student has received the flashcard you sent, watch for the Sending to and Received by prompt. This feature is available for every activity and will help you gauge when the student can see the material you sent. The next activity in the series is stories. Reading stories out loud is the most important thing your student will do, as it's where he or she gets a chance to practice. You should ideally spend 15 to 20 minutes of your session each week reading stories, but each child will be different and some may not be able to concentrate on reading for that long earlier in the year. When you're ready to read stories, click on the story icon from the activity menu, select the appropriate reading level and click Continue to open the story library. A library of levelled books will be displayed in the TutorMate Stories tab. The stories that you select will be visible in rows on both your screen and on the student's screen. Have fun with your pupil choosing which story they want to read and guessing what they might be about. The student can tell you which book he or she would like to read by giving you the number next to the book title or describing the picture. You will select that story and your pupil can begin reading. Let's take a look at a typical story and make sure it's clear what you do and what your pupil will see. When you choose a story from the library, the child will see the title page of that story on their screen. Often the names of the author and illustrator are also displayed here. These can be complicated words, so you may wish to read these to your pupil. Please note that this title page may also contain a challenge word. This is a word that the child will not know how to decode or sound out at their reading level. Please read this word out to your pupil and discuss its meaning with them. Now it's time to move into the story. While you can advance the stories forward using the arrow keys, your pupil will not have that option and can only see the page number. You might decide to look through or walk through the whole book with your pupil before reading it. You can mention some of the key or challenge words and give them a sense of the story before they read it, which can boost the confidence of early or reluctant readers. Do remember to use the pictures in each story too. When you start to read each page, you can help your pupil prepare to read by asking them to look at the picture and describe what they think the story is about or what might happen next. You may also want to take turns reading with your pupil if they often struggle. You could alternate reading each page. This is a good way of taking the pressure off and modelling fluent, expressive reading. As you read, you may want your student to focus on a particular word. You can do this in two ways. First, you can click on a word on your screen which will highlight the word on the child's view of the page. Or you can show that word to your student by typing in the message box. For example, if your student is struggling with the word sing, you can type the word, or its individual letters, in the message student box and send that word to your student. Remind them to sound it out using their phonics, but don't hesitate to give them the word if they seem stuck. When you send the word to your pupil in this way, it will appear for them as if spoken by a small owl in the top left of the screen. Asking them what the owl is saying is a good way to check they can see the word that you've sent. Asking questions about the story is a good way to see if your student is able to remember key points of the story. But helping a child develop their comprehension skills is about much more than asking questions to test their memory. Comprehension is about developing connections between what they have seen in the book and the world they understand. Can the student tell you about the story in their own words, or make connections between the story and their own experience? How would they feel if they were a character in the story? Having empathy with the characters helps create thoughtful readers. Not all stories include comprehension questions, but feel free to spend time asking your pupil about the story when you're finished reading. Did they like it? If so, why? You may also want to recap or retell a story at the end as a fun activity. It's a great skill for young readers to develop. If a story does include comprehension questions, they will be presented on your screen at the end of the story. The pupil's screen will display pictures to help them remember what the story is about. As we mentioned earlier, it can be hard for children to concentrate only on reading stories for a full 30 minutes. That's why our platform also contains 5 word activities that you can choose to use with your pupil. You'll find that your child will develop firm favourites and enjoy beating you. It's up to you whether you use these at the end of the session before you say goodbye or in between stories to mix things up a little. The games are Word Sort, 3 in a row, Mystery Word, Word World, and the Whiteboard. What follows is a brief look at each game. To view step-by-step instructions, click on the Directions link at the top of each page. In the Word Sort activity, students will practice sorting words based on their word endings. This is great practice for students learning how to sound out words. As the tutor, you will select the word from the list of 9 words you'll see above coloured boxes. Your student will see the same word on their screen, but will only see one word, not the menu that you have. Ask your student where the word belongs based on the word ending. Once you click on the appropriate box, the word will populate and the student will see the same word on their screen. Once all the words have been placed in a box, draw your student's attention to the similarities of the words, then ask your student to read the words in each box. 3 in a row is a favourite activity for many students. This additional exposure to words will help encourage fluent reading and word identification. When you're ready to begin, determine who will be a cross and who will be a nought. Notice each box has a word. Your pupil can see the same words as you. Taking turns, you and your student will try to be the first to get 3 crosses or noughts in a row, up, down, across, or diagonally. When you place a cross or a nought in the box, your student will see the same thing on their screen. Mystery word is a fun way of learning vocabulary and will help students remember the spelling of new words. To begin, think of a word or use one of the suggested words found on the right side of your screen. The student cannot see these words. When you have a word in mind, click on the number of letters of the word. Your student will see the same number of blank spaces on their screen. As your student begins to guess letters, click on the letter on the keyboard. This will highlight that letter for both you and your student. Please put your cursor on the appropriate line and select the letter using your computer keyboard. Your student will see each letter on their screen. You may find your student needs a little help getting started with this activity. Consider filling in the first letter or offering a clue to help your student guess the word. Word World is a fun way for pupils to practice spelling and word patterns. To play, spin the wheel to begin. A word will appear on your screen, but the pupil will not see the word. The spinner will stop on a letter which will populate on the pupil's screen. Click No to continue spinning until there are enough letters for the pupil to guess what the word might be, or until the pupil can read the word on the screen. Click Yes to show a new word and play the game again. The whiteboard simulates the magnetic board and is great for practicing spelling, difficult words, or making up fun sentences. Type a word or phrase in the field at the bottom of the screen. When you click Submit Word, your student will see the same word or phrase on their screen. You can also move words and phrases around by dragging anywhere on the board. Why not make up a story together each week? Remember, you will always have a chance to practice activities prior to your session using the practice tutoring tool that we covered in the first training.